I must say thank you for that. All right, we told you at the start of the show, and it's something that we've been speaking about, that the government announced a ban on plastic and, what is it, plastic bags, straws, and styrofoam. And to help us through all of this, we've a representative from NEPA, Mr. Anthony McKenzie, who's the director, and Suzanne Stanley, who's the Chief Executive Officer of Jamaica Environment Trust, who we had a quick chat with on Monday about all of this. Good morning to you both.
Morning.
Welcome to Smile Jamaica. The government is saying this will take place January 19, January 1, 2019. Overall, you don't have a, this is a question, overall you don't have a problem with this overall?
No,
Neither do you?
No, we are pushing for this.
What are the specifics? Let me start with NEPA. What are the specifics?
So as indicated, there are 3 categories of plastics. Polyethylene bags, typical scandal bags,
so that's
styrofoam,
what we call a scandal.
The scandal or the T-shirt bag, right? And it's less than 24 by 24. So we've categorized that.
Do we
and
have
styrofoam, the imports banned as of the 1st of January 2019, and then there's an extension for local production up until January 2020. Then we have straws, plastic straws, banned on the 1st of January.
And
the exception
imports as well, or in general?
Production, imports, everything. There's an exception, however, with respect to the plastic straws that are attached to the small pouches, those small texture pack pouches and boxes. Yes, there's an extension to that until January 2021.
What about folks who would have had many bags and it probably can't get rid of all of them before January next year?
Well, they'll be here, so I mean they'll be used because it's really the impact is on the import and the production. Really. So that's so we're cutting off that. That's
after January, right? But
January
if you have in stock, you still
yes. For all practical purposes, I mean.
But isn't that, Suzanne, kind of shaky? How you know that I did have it from 2 years ago? Or just
yeah, so I would imagine that the agencies that are leading, so I understand that NEPA is leading, also Bureau of Standards and the Jamaica Customs. There will have to be some kind of stock taking that would have to happen so that, you know, any retailers, wholesalers that did actually have plastic bags in stock. You know, in the same way, kind of like during lobster season, you know, you have to declare what you have in order, you know, to be able to continue distributing those. Otherwise, I'm sure that they would be considered, you know, banned.
Well, that was question raised another issue for me. What is the disposal strategy? So like me and you know, I have a whole heap of plastic bag in my house and I'm saying, oh my God, they're banning them, I'm not to use them. I want to get rid of them. Are we expecting to see people just getting rid of bags, manufacturers getting rid of products, a lot of plastics?
We expect that they'll be used up between now, we have 4 months, well, close to 4 months. Those will be used up by January 1st. I mean, after that, the new options would kick in if you have in stock. I mean, I don't know that we would be going in detail to say that you'd have to dispose of all of that. But I mean, we take the stock, take the audit at the manufacturing establishments, and those would be allowed to be used up. But the idea is that next year, for sure, no imports, no manufacturing of these banned items. So they'll be coming out of the waste stream, because that is the ultimate objective, to get these plastic materials out of the waste stream and stop them from entering, you know, gullies and ultimately to our coastline, because those areas are the impacted areas. Those areas are the areas of concern.
Suzanne, one of the questions that was asked. You share my concern?
I do share your concern. And we understand that larger sizes, so sizes that are larger than the T-shirt bag size or the scandal bag, ladder bag, wherever you're coming from in Jamaica, those will still be allowed. So you'll still be able to buy a garbage bag for your garbage in the supermarket. So that's the alternative. But I guess from our perspective, we want to know that the parts of the sectors of society that maybe cannot afford to buy garbage bags, that they will still have access to bags that they can use to containerize their garbage, or as you've said, you know, there could be some negative repercussions in that regard.
Yeah, so I think we're going to have to, and we are launching a public education and awareness campaign. I mean, where I come from in Golden Spring, a garbage bag is for $20 at the shop. Okay. $20 to $40, and people do go in and buy. I mean, we need to sensitize. If you pay for a scanner at the shop or so, it's just $10. So it's a little transition, $10 additional, but we have to build that awareness. Yeah. There has to be that cultural change, and so that's where we're going.
We said it on Hot Topics on Tuesday. There was an article in the Gleaner where, I don't remember her name, she was saying some of the questions are premature in terms of what legislation would be in place and so on. So as part of public education, are people going to be aware of what the penalties are? Do we know what the penalties are?
And the penalties would apply largely to import, the persons who are importing under the Trade Act. So it's importation and then manufacturing. So it's really those large
Suzanne, for those of us who came in very late and don't even know what we are talking about, what's the problem with a plastic bag? What is the problem with me putting my grocery in a plastic bag?
There's no problem with you putting your grocery in a plastic bag. I think as long as your plastic bag that's holding your groceries going into, you know, a licensed waste disposal site. The problem is that a lot of our plastics, so plastic bags, styrofoam containers, you know, straws as well, they're not actually going into a licensed waste disposal site. They're going into the environment, and they're not biodegradable. They don't break down naturally, right? And they just stay there. Styrofoam stays for hundreds of years. Plastic bags, you know, 50, 100 years. And even when they do break down, they just break down into smaller pieces, and they're just there floating around, you know, eaten by fish and other animals. And, you know, all of those things that are in plastic, they make their way up the food chain. There's impacts in terms of flooding, you know, aesthetic impacts, of course. There's all kinds of problems that plastic that are incorrectly disposed of in our environment cause.
And we don't have plastic bags, what we use.
Well, in terms of for garbage bags or for reusable? Well, we have reusable bags. I brought one here today to show you. You know, when you go into the grocery store, you have your
encouraging people to do that. And people have started.
Yes.
So, and we expect
this one is great. You can fold it all
up. Hold it up again. Hold it up again.
This one, it says not up Jamaica. Yeah. Shameless plug.
So you're saying take that to the supermarket, put your stuff in. Next time you go, you can use it again.
This one is great because you can just fold it up and put it in your handbag. It has a little belt clip, you know, if you're a gentleman and don't have a handbag, you can tag it on to that. You know, but there's all kinds of options that you can use. We survived before plastic bags.
Exactly.
We survived before styrofoam boxes and plastic straws. Of course, baskets, you know. You're looking very chic with your
and we did use
basket.
paper bags and
exactly. Paper bags of packaging, flour, sugar. Back in the day, that was the thing.
Anthony, the manufacturers would have budgeted for bringing in these products and for the sale of these products. Now in 4 months, they have to come up with a plan. And already we're hearing that this is going to affect employment. Is there some kind of assistance? What are the plans for manufacturers?
Okay. It has not been a knee reaction. It has been in the making for 2 years. We've been having these discussions with the various stakeholders. Okay. They've been in caucus. We had working groups. We had the industrial sector in a working group by themselves. And it took some time. I mean, the cabinet had given 3 months for those discussions. It took close to a year with those consultations. Oh, okay. So it's not an...
So cabinet didn't just come up with it and announce it?
No, certainly not. Right? So it has been a process. And it ought not to be a surprise to anybody. It was not a surprise, actually. So people have been aware.
So inherent in what you're saying to me is there is no support coming? Inherent in what you're saying to me is the
minister in his statement indicated that the government will be providing some assistance or looking at the possibility of assistance through the Exim Bank and the DBJ. So those are possibilities. And so the manufacturers could look at those options as well. But I know that there are some of them who have already, and even at the start, have been weighing and considering the options in terms of the possibilities.
Yeah. Our producer tells us that she has a Gleaner archive that said we were talking about this from 1995. Plans for recycling of plastic.
It's a long time, yes, it's a long time.
It seems to be April, no, in June 1995.
Yes, man, it's a long time. And the good thing is that most of our population are compatible with the policy direction.
Yeah.
I think people are aware of the need to make that transition.
Manufacturers and importers of shopping bags made of polyethylene must apply to NEPA for limited exemptions.
Right. So,
what would cause me to ask for an exemption?
All right. So an exemption has been given to those branded shopping bags. The idea is that those bags can be sort of multiple use. They're a little thicker than the typical polyethylene scandal bags, right? So in the discussion, that was a sort of, not really a compromise, but yeah, it was a kind of compromise as well. But the reality is that these bags could be considered multi-use, but the idea ultimately that we want to still get them out of the base stream.
So the exemption would be if I have it already, or if I want
no, man, there's
to bring
an exemption to still produce those.
Bring it in?
To still manufacture and produce those. Up until 2021.
What's the reason behind that, though?
Well, as I indicated, that was formed part of the discussions, and the point was made that those could be considered multi-use. You don't see them a lot in the waste stream.
Yeah, but then if it is multi-use, then
they're single-use bags, but people use them on multiple occasions, but they are still single use.
Yeah, that's what you call a grey area.
Not really. That was a decision that was deliberate.
No, I accept that, but it kind of contradictory in my opinion, because you're saying it's a single use, but you give an exception to it.
It's single use, it's manufactured locally, it's branded, but in practice, people use them a number of times.
But in practice, I could use.
They're a little thicker.
I agree with
but that was a decision that was deliberate and considered. Right? But the idea is that it's going to be phased out.
I have to say I do understand, but.
There's exemptions for food safety as well. So things, plastic bags that are used to package, meat and bread.
And so on.
Yeah.
So those are exempted.
So I will end where I started. You guys are comfortable with this?
Yes, and I mean,
Susan, you kind of look like
we have some concerns. The main one being, what Delia had raised about the containerization of our garbage. Yeah. But, by and large, we think it's a positive move in the right direction. It's a great policy shift for the government of Jamaica. And combined with some other things, like plastic bottle recycling, improved waste management, enforcement of these things, of these bans,
which is the biggest
and anti-littering, laws.
Enforcement
is the first step. Yeah. I mean, we're going to have to tackle other types of plastics as well.
It's one part of the puzzle.
We have to transition to the country that we want.
Right. And that's the vision. Education is important.
Yes.
People need to know what's happening.
We're going to be depending on Smile Jamaica as well. That's a whole program that we're pushing out between now and December.
Where we can get that bag?
These ones are called Chico bags. We got them online, but we're going to try to bring some in before January so that people can get them and be ready.
But I said they got them for Christmas.
Yeah, man, for Christmas.
Chico
Same
bags.
thing we're thinking.
Chief Executive Officer of JET, Suzanne Stanley, and Director of NEPA, Mr. Anthony Mackenzie.
All right, more and smile after this. I want only the bag for Christmas shopping.